This is a great little cook set. It contains everything I need. Small bottle of gas and a cleaning cloth, the stove and a lighter. It all fits together in one handy little pack. However, it's a little bit too small for anything other than a cup of tea or maybe a packet of ramen noodles. I decided to go large and bought a Stanley cup. The first thing I did was to add on a tin opener. The tin opener is kept in place with a piece of bicycle inner tube which stops it rattling and stops it getting lost. I then got rid of the two cups. I then replaced them with a metal cup with measuring marks. So I could drink out of it without burning my lips, I put tape round the rim. The pot is big enough to contain a gas cartridge. So putting in the gas cartridge, the cup and the stove means that I now have a complete cooking system. Got some gear that's wet and needs drying out. Put it up so the water comes out rather than staying in. As well as modifying the stove, I decided to make my own container. It would be made out of cloth because it didn't matter if it got wet, and it would be big enough to contain a sweet tin. The sweet tin could be used to hold condiments or tea or coffee or cleaning rags. I decided I would cover one side with tape to stop the whole thing rattling. Wet gear is no good, so to keep it dry most people use a dry sack. You take your dry clothes out, you take your wet ones off, you put your dry clothes on. What do you do with the wet ones? You put them in your bag and get everything else wet. Unless of course you keep your gear in a plastic bag. The wet gear goes into the plastic bag, back into your rucksack, and it stops everything else getting wet. It's great to get a new piece of equipment, but before you actually use it in the field where it's important, try it out at home. So how long will it take to heat water? Will the plastic tab at the top get too hot to use? Will the wire handle get too hot? Will I have to use an oven glove or put on a pair of gloves in the field to take the pot off the fire? Do you need something to put small items in but can't afford a dry bag? Use a bread bag. Put the items in, squeeze out the air, twist it over, wrap it over the top, put it in your rucksack. Well, the water's boiling, plastic on the lid's okay, the handle's nice and cool. Now let's see how well it pours. It seems to pour okay. However, although the handle stays cold, this catch here gets very hot. So before you go out, try it out. You're at home, your kit's dried, you're storing your sleeping bag. Don't store it in the compression sack. Store the compression sack inside it. It lets the fibres breathe and not be squashed, and you don't lose a compression sack. An absorbent dressing can be made with some dried sphagnum moss and a bandana. First of all, fold the bandana about 1/4. Then put the pad of sphagnum moss in the middle and fold it over. This is a variation of the bivvy roll. Roll it up and then turn the fold back on itself, smooth it out, and you have an absorbent pad for liquids and blood. So if you can't get out there, stay in, try it out. You know it makes sense. It will serve you well.